Hello, good night. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Tonight I have a great topic. So my question, the question I'm going to answer is, can you apply for a green card with a past arrest or conviction? The answer is yes, that is possible, but it depends on the specific facts involved. What I would say is don't go ahead and apply hoping that you will get by the seat of your pants, and make sure you schedule a consultation to get specific legal advice about to handle this, because there are ways to properly handle your immigration application if you have been arrested or convicted for an offense in the past. Now, here is also the good news. Even if you have an arrest, even a conviction, you may not even need to do much to go through your process. If that conviction does render you inadmissible, meaning that it makes you ineligible for benefit such as a green card, there is what's called a waiver that you could apply for to get forgiveness for the inadmissibility that's preventing you from getting permanent residence. And after you get this pardon, or what we call a waiver in immigration, you're able to still move forward. To determine whether you qualify, though, would definitely need to be evaluated in a consultation. So rule one, I am in Boca Raton, Florida. However, I represent clients all over the country. I represent clients in all 50 states. I'm not limited by state lines, and I'm not limited by borders. I can represent you if you have a U.S. immigration issue. So if you have a U.S. immigration issue, you're listening to this live, you already know that you have an issue like this and you need to get legal advice, schedule that consultation. There's a scheduling coordinator who's available up until 11 p.m. There's also a scheduling coordinator who is available between noon tomorrow and 5 p.m. So you can go ahead and there's plenty of opportunity for you to get in touch and schedule your appointment. You can also do it on your own. So let's see. Annalisa, hi there. Thanks for sharing the live. Queen B, so nice to see you as always. Oops, a friend has a Canadian issue. Okay, so rule one, that definitely would not be me. They would have to find a Canadian immigration attorney. I am a United States immigration attorney. So if you'd like to go ahead, schedule a consultation, you can do that. Let's talk about if you have been arrested or convicted, how can this affect your green card application? It may affect your green card application. It really comes down to the facts. Now, there are two ways that criminal past can render you inadmissible. So more than two ways, but there's first the aggravated felony. The aggravated felony is it's not just a single crime. An aggravated felony sounds serious, and it is serious. It is the most serious type of criminal conduct under immigration law. But there is a long list of offenses that can get you an aggravated felony. But what the aggravated felony means is that you are barred from coming to the United States permanently, and you are unable to get a waiver. Now, of course, there may be loopholes just depending on what you're applying for to come to the United States. However, if you're looking at permanent residence, then there is usually no waiver available for that. But then there are other situations where you could get a waiver. And if you have committed an offense that can be categorized as a crime involving moral turpitude. I usually like to say if your crime involved something that was morally reprehensible, then you are definitely at a high risk of being seen as someone who committed a crime involving moral turpitude. For example, an example of a type of crime that may fall under the crime involving moral turpitude may be types of fraud, maybe identity theft. Now, it really comes down. This comes down to how the state law defines the type of crime. What are the elements of the crime? What are is part of the element that it has to be willful. So that is where a personalized consultation is going to be very important for me to evaluate all of those different factors to determine whether you're going to need a waiver. Because once you've been convicted for a crime involving moral turpitude, then you're going to need a waiver of inadmissibility to be able to get past that. Now, let's look at another scenario. If you have been convicted for 2 or more offenses, and those offenses also had an aggregate sentence of 5 years or more, then you would also be inadmissible on that basis. So, for example, if you had 2 DUIs, and the 2 DUIs caused you to maybe have a sentence of more than 5 years, or and 2 separate offenses. So these are 2 separate offenses or more that have caused you to be sentenced for 5 years or more. So if you're in a situation like this, you can also get a waiver. So it's either called the 212H waiver, or it is called the extreme hardship waiver. Now, what do you need to qualify for this type of waiver? You will need to have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, a parent, or a citizen's son or daughter who's a child. So you need to have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, parent, or child. So children in this case do count. An extreme hardship, I like to put it like this in a nutshell. Extreme hardship is where your relative will experience devastating consequences if you don't get that green card. So you don't get admitted into the United States, or you get deported. So let me see, I see a lot of questions coming in, so I'm going to pause to answer some of these questions. What evidence do they ask for if filing for a child that is 20? So Queen Bee, they usually just want to establish that there is a parent-child relationship. And the most important thing is going to be that birth certificate with your name on the birth certificate and the child, that creates that connection. If they do have additional questions about parentage, then they're going to likely release a request for evidence, or they're going to order or demand a DNA test. Can legal work experience in the U.S. qualify for your green card? Not Zazu. So for you to qualify for a merit-based type green card, that's usually the extraordinary ability green card or the national interest waiver. You'll have to show that you've taken your experience and you can, or you will, or you have brought a lot to the table. You've contributed a lot to the United States with that legal experience. For example, with the national interest waiver, you're going to have to show an advanced degree. And there is specific criteria also to show in that the advanced degree, and then also to show how you can continue how you can bring that advanced degree to the United States and make a difference here, do some important work here. So just having legal work alone experience is not necessarily going to qualify you. But I would say if you're an entrepreneur, if you are at the top of your field, if you've done great things within the legal field, then that could be your path to permanent residence. Hi there. How long will it take to bring my wife from Africa? I'm a US citizen. So I would say the 18 to 24 months is the average time that I'm seeing. Usually it takes about a year to get the petition approved, and then about another year to get through the interview process. Keep in mind though that just depending on delays, how long it takes for you to get documents in, how long it takes for the USCIS or the National Visa Center to review your case, it could take longer, it could take shorter if you're lucky. Does having a registered small business in Trinidad make it easier to get a US visa? It could possibly. I mean, running your own business in Trinidad and showing that it is a business that is functioning, that is active, would definitely show strong ties to Trinidad. So that could definitely be good evidence of your strong ties to Trinidad. How I get a U.S. work permit while I'm a permanent resident in Canada. So you'll have to qualify. You'll have to qualify through an employer, through employment, or through family. Does having a registered small business, I think I answered that. Okay, great. Thank you, Tina, for sharing the live. Nikki Z, thanks for sharing. I appreciate it. SNS, you are very welcome. So I'm talking about about ways to still get your green card if you have been arrested or convicted. Now, this is it. If this has happened to you, sometimes things happen. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. Sometimes we have lapse in judgment. Sometimes it may not even have been justified in the first place. And so the first thing I want you to know is that you should not jump up and not do anything because you think by automatically by having an arrest or conviction, you will never get your green card. That is not true. Individuals who have been arrested, who have been convicted for minor crimes under immigration law have still moved forward in their immigration process and gotten their green card without without additional applications like a waiver. So my rule of thumb is if you have been arrested or convicted for a crime, get legal advice first to see what is your next move. What should your next move be? Now, if I evaluate your case and then find that okay, yes, this will affect your case, the next thing I look at is how can this be fixed? Because yes, there is a way to fix this situation, and it is through a waiver. So when we're dealing with criminal issues, if you qualify for the waiver, there are two ways that you could qualify for the waiver. One is if your crime or conviction occurred more than 15 years ago, you don't necessarily need anything but to show that you have been rehabilitated. It's been 15 years since the crime occurred or the conviction. You have been rehabilitated and it is not against public interest to approve you for this waiver. Now, if it's less than 15 years, there's going to be a little more required of you to qualify for a waiver. You will have to have a qualifying relative in this case. So you'll have to have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse, parent, or child who will experience extreme hardship if you don't get the green card, meaning if you're not allowed to adjust status in the United States, or you're not allowed to get the immigrant visa in order to get the permanent residence. Now, extreme hardship usually means that that relative will face devastating consequences if they're in the United States, and also if they have to move outside of the United States to be with you, if you're deported or you have to leave the United States. So Marcus, hi there. I have a tourist visa. I will come to the state to get married with my fiance. So Chetty, make sure you get legal advice. Don't do anything while I can't tell you don't get married, what I can tell you is make sure you protect yourself. Make sure you get legal advice and representation before you make any major moves, before you submit any applications for any immigration benefits. So Marcos, I don't see the other part of your question. So let me see. And good evidence or document, please show the real marriage. So, you know what, first off, I don't want to make it seem as if showing evidence is a one size fits all. Showing bona fide evidence of evidence of your bona fide marriage is going to come down to how are you living your lives as a married couple? How are you conducting your business as a married couple? And how can you use that, the documents you have, any evidence you have to show that you intend to live your lives together? Now, some common pieces of evidence would be things like shared property, a joint lease to show you're living together. Joint property could be a car, it could be property, it could be a house, it could be real estate, it could be a boat. It could be anything that is of substantial value that is in both of your names. If you have an active joint bank account, that can also count. Life insurance, health insurance, disability insurance. These can also be evidence to show that you do have a plan in place with your spouse. Estate planning documents is also a good one. If you file your taxes together, that's excellent evidence. So it comes down to what are you doing as a married couple to just be a married couple, and then take that the paper trail from what you're doing to show that you're a bona fide couple. All right. I'm working as a long haul truck driver. I'm Canadian, permanent resident. Is there any option for me to get USA work? So if you're a permanent resident, you're gonna have to qualify, Rubal. So you're not a Canadian citizen, so you wouldn't necessarily qualify for what's called a TN visa. With the TN visa, it allows you to seek employment in the United States. And once you get the employment letter, you can use it to get that special TN visa to come and work in the United States. However, in your case, you're a permanent resident, and so you would have to qualify like anybody else to be able to come to the United States and work. So you're a long haul truck driver. Maybe if you do obtain employment with a US based truck company, they would be willing to sponsor you, because that is an area where there is a shortage right now, a great demand for that. So that could be a way for you to get into the US market. All right, so great questions. Thanks so much for your questions, everyone. I'm pretty much done with the topic that I came to talk about. And what I really want you to get out of this is that if you do have an arrest or conviction, don't assume that you will never get through your process, your green card process. In some cases, you may not need to apply for anything additional. And even if you do, it may involve a waiver. There are some cases where you could be permanently barred. However, don't make that assumption until you get personalized legal advice, where I, as the attorney, can advise you about your options, because there are options in this case. It's not the end of the road. And I do understand things happen. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person. And under immigration law, they do give some leeway, as long as you can show that you're a good person and that you do have the justification to still get the green card. Rubal, you're welcome. Dark Hawk, thanks for the follow. Okay, so thank you, but she is Africa. We don't have joint account or insurance. So Marcos, that's where it's going to come down to your personal circumstances. Definitely get legal advice. You can always schedule a consultation to get personalized legal advice because, as I said before, it's not a one size fit all. So don't do it yourself. Make sure you get the right legal advice, representation through your process. Now, I'm not going to be finished here. I'm just heading on over to Instagram and Facebook where I'm going to continue this conversation. So hop on over there right now. You can join me in a minute and I will continue to take your questions if I haven't gotten to your questions here. On Instagram, I'm The Immigration Attorney. As a matter of fact, most of my content is released on Instagram. So if you would like, hop on over there, follow me, and you'll be able to get tips, updates, and entertaining videos while you're learning at the same time. I'm on Facebook as well. And on Facebook, I'm ST Law Office. So join me on any one of those to continue to watch me and to ask your questions, because that's why I'm here at the end of the day. I usually come on here most nights, with few exceptions, at around 9 p.m. Eastern time to take your information and to answer your general questions. And then I also bring a topic to talk about. I do have a scheduling coordinator who's available up until 11 p.m. tonight to take your call and to help you to schedule your appointment, because that's very important here. Remember, the information that I've given you tonight is general information. It is not personalized legal advice. And I urge you to get the advice you need to make sure you understand your options, you're going in the right direction, and that you get representation, the right representation to get through the process successfully. So I'm looking forward to seeing you in a minute or seeing you in a consultation soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.